Okay.
I can sit.
The whole class?
What?
Can we talk about our projects for the whole class?
The whole class.
Yeah. Like until 35.
She doesn't like learning.
Oh,
I do
no.
like
Oh,
learning.
I
I do like learning. I just have to take so many for your last class that I have to take so many.
Oh, do you have?
But see, that's the thing. You don't have to.
But I have memory problems. So do.
Okay. Well, I'll go slow.
I feel like you.
I got a lot of stories with Roosevelt. Okay.
I feel like people remember. Don't you remember better when you write it?
I
down?
like to take notes.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm doing a Zoom for my master stuff. I don't know if the other people are doing it, but I'm writing crap down. You know, in the Zoom meeting, which I finished one this week and I started a new one Monday. So advanced curriculum design.
What's
And
that?
it's with the professor that runs the whole program. I haven't had a class with her yet, so I don't know what she's gonna be like. I hope she's cool and understand that the people in her class are going through this every day. You know what I mean? So you guys know, like, when I record these, like, I have to upload them, download them, and then upload them, and then copy them into the file, right? So
Yeah.
I do that 3 times a day, so that takes about 15 to 20 minutes, that process. 3 times a day, so that just cuts in another, you know, it never stops. You know what I mean? It's for me too, I'm with you. It's crazy. I got some work to do out on the ball field, so the next 2 days I'm gonna be out there.
We run by it. And
Yeah.
So bad.
We just-
Every time the cross country girls run by, we're like, oh, we wish there was lights out here or something.
Also, there might be a lot of footprints because one time it was muddy and we ran on the field and I slipped. Like,
Ran on the dirt?
yeah. We were like, it's pretty. We have to do a lap.
Okay,
So.
I'm gonna make it real pretty. About 2 weeks from now, it's gonna be gorgeous. You guys go have a picnic out
We'll do.
We'll have class out there.
there.
Yeah.
No, seriously, the best grass on campus. I didn't think.
Probably,
It is the
honestly.
best grass yard on campus. Okay. So, and I mow that at 1 inch. 1 inch. It's beautiful.
Trying to promote that
Believe in the
book,
one
They
that
Kill
calls
the
for
Grass.
He believes in me.
Now, these people are at home, they want me to teach, don't you? Don't you?
No.
Okay. Let's
I'm
talk about
interested to
Okay,
hear
so
how you
we do
mow.
dates. Okay, yes, and I gave you guys an assignment today, yes? Did you see that?
No, I have not checked. Wait, do tonight?
No. Riley, I'm not gonna do that to you. It's due next Friday.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Cool.
So wait,
Yeah.
something we have to or?
No, it's an
Awesome.
optional, the
I'll
2020
do
assignment.
it.
Yeah,
I
but
need it after
listen,
that
you
test.
guys saw your tests? Your tests are graded, right?
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
need
see
to
him.
do that assignment.
I didn't see it.
Okay, so there's an assignment to help you.
Okay.
Now, these projects are really good helpers, because they're 100 points.
I like projects. I
Okay.
like projects.
So the first one is your book review, okay? Now, and that is due on November 3rd.
That's 5 days before my birthday. That's less than a month from
Okay, if you can't read a book in a month,
I can't help you.
that's
Okay.
a long time.
Now, listen, what are we reading? 20th century American history.
Or the
now. Wait, I have a question.
Go.
Do we all have to do different books?
Do you all want to do the same book?
Well,
Do you want me to tell you what to read?
I wanted to do that one about the Chinese.
Oh,
And like I figured.
okay.
out
Well, I got another one that is awesome. Okay. Now this fell down.
I'm gonna read a book on the cross. Yeah,
I'm
Oh,
so-
I think you saw the movie.
Yeah.
The movie was nothing like the book. I mean, it's the
Well-
same dude, but the book is incredible. Okay. Have you ever heard of any books by Bill O'Reilly called like Killing Kennedy, Killing Reagan, Killing Lincoln? Can't read that because that's 19th century. Killing Patton. That's a good one. Killing the Rising Sun, which is about the end of World War II and the atomic bombs.
I think he has one over the SS.
Assassination.
Yeah.
The what?
Killing the SS.
Oh, the SS? Okay, yeah, I think he's got like 16 now. he does have Killing Jesus as well. So, but you can't read that. Because that's like a different.
First century
Yeah.
history.
Okay. So those, I mean, they're easy reads, like they read like novels, you know what I mean? If you're into like civil rights, some of you guys seen the movie The Help,
Oh, I love that.
that you can read that book.
It helps also the Hidden Figures, like the
Hidden
one
Figures.
behind NASA.
You could read that.
That's a good.
That's a good
I've already read it. Read both of those.
Okay, well, you need to read something new.
I know. It's
Okay. Can't read The Great Gatsby.
Wait, was that
Sorry.
a no then? Like,
Huh?
is that a no? Like we can't read the same.
Iris Chang? Iris Chang, the book is called The Rape of Nanking. Can two people read that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you at home, I don't care what you read, although I do care, but I don't care if multiple people read the same book. Okay? Yeah, I mean, it's limitless. Okay, now I have some books on my shelves. Like if you're really struggling, okay, I would recommend one of those Bill O'Reilly Killing series from the 20s. They're good, they're easy to read, and really interesting. Okay, now what are you writing about? You're not writing a book report, people. You started writing book reports in like the 6th grade. We're not doing that. Okay, you are writing a book review. So New York Times has something called New York Times Book Review, where they have these people that read books and then write reviews on them. Why would you want to read this book? What's the value of this book? Who's the author? Why did they write this book? Okay, what kind of research did they do to write this book? Is it historical fiction or is it nonfiction? Okay, and if it's nonfiction, then look at the footnotes. You know, just make a comment about all the research they did. If it's fiction, we can learn a lot. The Help is fiction, okay? But you learn a lot about the 1950s, 60s Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, okay? My mom was born in 1940 in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, okay? She was poor. Everybody was poor where she lived. Blacks and whites went to school together because they were all poor. Okay, so if I look at my mom's yearbook from like 1958, it's got everybody in. This is before, you know, I mean, they were going to school before, you know, Brown versus Board of Education. You know what I mean? When they integrated the schools. Newton, Kansas had integrated schools before Brown versus Board of Education. Everybody's poor. Everybody just went to the same school. They didn't have the rich side of town. Everybody was poor. Now, in a lot of communities, you had the rich side of town, right? One side of the railroad tracks, white people. The other side of the railroad tracks, black people. Okay? How cities were divided all across this country. Okay? So, talk about integration. Anything you want to read about, people, give me a title. I will say yay or nay. Okay? Book review. Okay? Guess what? If you pick a book, there's chances that somebody else has actually written a book review about that book. Can you read that? Yes. Can you plagiarize from that? No. Can you quote that person that wrote a book review on your book? Yes. Just got to cite it. Right? So this isn't that hard. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to pick something you like, you want to learn more about. You want to read about the history of volleyball in the United States? You could. Can you find a book on that? I don't know. Maybe you can write that book one day, Riley. Nice catch last night.
Thanks.
In traffic.
I know. I like bobbled up a
Yeah.
little bit.
That was sweet. You guys destroyed the juniors. Wasn't even fair.
We weren't bad on ourselves.
Huh?
We did not have this. The two scores they got. Okay, the second one, we didn't have half of our defense on the field yet.
Yeah.
So.
Stone.
Now, the first touchdown for the juniors was big. That was exciting.
Stone.
That was twin to twin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. They'll always have that number, even though they lost. Okay, good. Got an idea what? Okay, so you need to start looking for a book. Hit me up, say Mr. Wright. You can send me it or just ask me in class. Okay. And if you're really having trouble, I can probably find something on my shelf you can read, but it's not going to be real exciting. Okay. All right. Second one, the interview. Should I talk about? You can do the book review or the double entry journal. Anybody interested in that?
It's still true.
Okay. We used to have a principal here, Ron Gorman, and he kind of wanted all the departments to use this. Okay, so what you do is here's your book, Unbroken, and Laura Hildebrand that wrote Unbroken also wrote Seabiscuit. Any of you guys ever see that movie, Seabiscuit? It's about a Triple Crown horse winner. Okay, she's a great writer. It does an extensive research for her books, so you get details that you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay, so anyhow, this is a summary because remember, I don't want a book report. I don't want a summary of the book. Okay, do you need to include some summary? Yes. Okay, but I don't want a paper full of summary. That's just too easy. Okay, I want your opinion, your thoughts. Okay, this is your analysis. So you write a little bit of summary, okay? This is page 1 through 25. And then you write a little bit more analysis. And then you stop reading at page 25, you do that. Then you start reading again, 26 to 50. Give me a little bit of summary. You guys see this? A little bit of summary, and then give me more analysis. And then you go page 51, 75, a little bit of summary and more analysis. This can be handwritten. You can do it in a notebook and turn it in, or you can type it. So you read in bed. That's where I read. So you read in bed, 25 pages, get your notebook, write down your thoughts, okay? And then close it up next night, read the next 25 pages. Now, when you stop and read and analyze what you read, you tend to remember it a lot better, like writing it down. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, book reviews, 3 to 5 pages long. There's not really a page total on this. It's going to be more than 3 to 5 pages. Okay. Now, if your book sets up well chapter-wise, so the chapters are like 20 pages long, you can do it by chapter on this, okay? But a lot of books, you'll get chapters like are 8 pages long. So you get something like that, you're not going to want to stop after 8 pages. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's called a double entry journal. You can do that or the 3 to 5 page book review. Okay. And guys, it's not hard to write 3 pages, double spaced, 12-point font. So don't come up short. You're giving me the easiest way to cut your grade is by not writing 3 full pages. Okay? You give me thoughtful analysis, personal thoughtful analysis. You're going to do pretty good. It's 100 points. I just want you to learn some history. Okay? Now the interview. Okay? The interview is due when? December? 24th? No. No, it's like the 17th. The 17th. Okay.
Do it on Christmas.
100 points. Yes, and I will grade these over Christmas break. Okay? And I will listen to your interviews. I will read your interview and read your reflections. Okay? So, first thing you got to do, minimum 15 minutes. Okay? Shouldn't be that hard. Okay? If I were you, I'd, at least do 20, 25 minutes. Okay, if you can. Okay? You're going to record. Audio or video? Either, okay? Now, what are you gonna use to record? Can you use your phone? You have a recording device in your phone. Could you use a video camera? And if the person doesn't want to be on video, you could just put the video camera up and record and have picture pointing at something else, okay? If this is a family member, I would video record. Because this family member may not always be around. And just not only hear the voice, but see them. It's good stuff, okay? I'm from another era. We had some 8mm film in the attic that my parents had. This is like 1970s, early 70s stuff, okay? And I got to tell you, I got this stuff out of the attic in Florida, and I took it to a photographer, Lawrence Photography here in Wichita, and had him put it on a DVD for me. I couldn't tell what was on it. And when I popped in that DVD and started watching it, and I saw my mom, who died a long time ago, man, I just got a huge lump in my throat. You know what I mean? It's like took my breath away, guys. So if you're doing a family member, get them on video, okay? All right. Okay, so you're going to record this, all right? Now, you want to know a little bit about the subject you're asking them about, right? What historical events, right, that they are connected to, okay? So you want to prep with some questions, okay? Now, the best way to do an interview is to listen and ask questions from what you hear. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's some bullet point things you want to ask them about. But then you just kind of, dig in a little bit more on that, okay? Trigger some memories for people, okay? Then, once you're done with the recording, you're going to sit down at your word processor and start transcribing it. This is the hardest part. Word for word. How do you spell U-H? How do you spell So you need to be careful. My wife is terrible about this. When somebody's talking to her, she's always doing this, yeah, drives us crazy. When she's on the phone, she's talking, she's always talking while the other person's talking and trying to finish their sentences. Drives my kids and I crazy, okay? You need to be careful about that because you're going to have to write that. So they're talking and you got in there. So this is Joe that you're interviewing. You write what he says, and then you have me or your name, and then you write what you said. And then Joe, and then you. And if you're interrupting them, you're screwing up your transcript. Okay? So you want to be accurate. So where do I grade you on this? I grade you on accuracy, how well you transcribe it. Okay? This is a place where you can lose points. This is a place where you can lose points if you're too short. Okay? Transcribe it. Okay? Then you're going to write a reflection. Reflection. Okay, this is 1 to 2 pages, double space. Just on the process, where you can rail against the transcribing process and how horrible it was. You can write about that in your reflection. Or how you enjoyed the interview, or how I was nervous about the interview, what I learned about the interview, what I took away from the interview, and how wonderful it was. Thank you, Mr. Ebright, for giving us this assignment because it's changed my life forever. Okay? Now, one thing that just popped into my head. When you interview somebody, you need to get their vitals. What's your vitals? D-O-B. Birthplace. Like if you're talking to somebody that was a farmer in Colwich during the war, during World War II, okay, it's important that we know where that farm was. You know what I mean? Tell you what, there's a good interview out there. I'm just gonna throw it out there. First one to get it, they can. Mrs. Nielsen. You know Miss Nielsen? You know her mom? Anybody know her mom? Connie? Connie, see that poster? Rosie the Riveter? Connie was a Rosie the Riveter. She's been flying all across the country on the B-29 bomber called Doc. That she was very instrumental in helping getting that thing airworthy again. Each one of those engines on the B-29 cost $100,000 to rebuild. She worked on this plane in Wichita during the war. Okay? She came down from Newton every day. Poor little Mexican woman. She came down, okay? And so she, like, goes on this flight. They were in D.C. last week, okay? Tish went with her, okay? So, I mean, she's one of the few Rosie the Riveters still around. Okay? Great stories. I mean, just the stuff, like being a Mexican, right, during the war, just that part of it. Like, what was school like? And, this thing is getting tight. Okay. So she's really interesting to talk to. Now, it's going to be hard to find World War II generation people. They're just, I mean, we're losing them every day. Okay. So you're looking for somebody that served in Vietnam, somebody that served in Korea, somebody that, witnessed a historical event of some sort. It could be somebody that served in Afghanistan or Iraq. Yesterday is history. Okay? So it doesn't have to be 60, 70 years ago. It doesn't have to be the Dust Bowl, which most people that would remember the Dust Bowl have passed on. Okay? So what I did 20 years ago is different than what we're doing today as far as these interviews go. I got a pile of these interviews in that closet in there from World War II veterans. It's like a treasure trove of stories. One day I'm gonna maybe write a book, or definitely donate that to, library or the archives or something like that. So, all kinds of good stories. Okay? School immigration is a story, or integration. My assistant coach Paul Sanagorski, who is in his mid-70s. Do you know him? You know him?
Oh, is it like? Yeah, the coach that last name is Sanagorski.
It's his daughter-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah, he's my assistant coach, her father-in-law. He's like 75. Okay? He was student teaching at South High when they integrated school. He said it was nuts. Okay? So there's all kinds of stories out there. Okay? Good? Good? 100 points. Easy A right there. If you kind of like do everything, okay? And some of you guys might like the sound of that after that first test.
Ever so slightly.
Hey, the tests aren't easy.
I just didn't know we had a
Now,
test.
somebody did good. So I had a couple 52 out of 53, and I was like, that's good. That's good. Don't forget those war dates. Those come in handy.
Yeah.
Okay?
I was like, I should know. I was like, this is such an obvious question.
Yeah.
Oh, that last one.
Oh, the last, yeah. I mean,
Did you have a lot of people miss that
oh,
one?
yeah. Always
I
do.
knew at least one of the dates.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that I knew one of them.
Yeah, it's all right. That's first test. Everybody learns from it.
So wait, is it in our school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I graded it
My
like the
power
next
school
day.
notification.
Oh.
Yeah, that's quick turnaround. I haven't graded the other half of the class, but I'm getting there. I got like half of them done. Okay. All right.
We've got 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, let's get in some FDR. Okay. Hey, you had a nice little break.
Yeah, no, I was enjoying this.
Okay. So like I said, I just posted an assignment this morning. I think it's due next Friday. Thursday, maybe, might be next Thursday. It's just 5 questions. Just look them up, write about them, think about them. think about them, learn a little bit. This is some things that I don't touch on a lot in class, okay? That are important and relevant, okay? All right, so FDR and the New Deal. Everybody's heard of the New Deal?
Yes.
Heard of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Okay, now remember, we looked at Hoover's administration, right? No, Harding's. It's Harding's administration. And I'll scoot that a little closer for you guys. That's all I got. Okay. We didn't really look at Coolidge's administration or Hoover's administration much, but we looked at Harding, and we're definitely going to look at Roosevelt. Okay. Now remember, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, all what party? Republicans, Democrat. Okay. 1932. He's running against Hoover. Yeah, I mean, the Depression, right, gets blamed on Hoover. Hoovervilles, you've got prohibition is still an issue. Hoover's still against legalizing alcohol. Yeah, the bonus army thing. Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay. So looking at this cabinet, it's interesting to study, okay? So he's got a varied group of advisors. Like many, he liked many opinions to choose from. So some of these are like former Republicans. So you got Harold Ickes, Secretary of Interior. He's a progressive reformer, former Republican guy. Henry A. Wallace, Agriculture. Henry Wallace will become the Secretary of Agriculture. His father had been the Secretary of Agriculture before him. Now, that's not all about Henry A. Wallace. Now, if I say the name John Garner, what does that mean to you? First Vice President for Roosevelt, right? This guy, Henry A. Wallace, will become his second Vice President for his second term and his third term. Henry Wallace is pretty well known. Is a closet communist. You can ask Barbara about it, okay? Yeah. Henry Morgenthau. We're going to be talking about this guy too, okay? We had another Secretary of Treasury for 3 presidents with 2 L's. Mellon, right? Now we get Morgenthau. Now, Morgenthau is a close friend and neighbor of Roosevelt, okay? He becomes Secretary of Treasury. Now, other than the name not starting with an H, what's different about this name, Francis Perkins?
He was not. I mean, like, did he agree with FDR? Is that
Francis.
Oh, it's a woman.
This is how you spell Francis for a woman. There are some male Francis, and you spell it differently. Francis is a woman, not just any woman, but the first woman to be in a cabinet. First woman cabinet member. And she will be Secretary of Labor. Now, there's a mnemonic device there. You got it? Because only women can go into. See, I'm hitting you with all these mnemonic devices. I, Ickes, I, Interior, A, Wallace, A, Agriculture, right? There are so many freaking H's in this chapter. It's crazy. I'm not kidding. There's like 10 I'm going to mention.
Wasn't he was his father had post prior? Like,
He was the Secretary of Agriculture
oh, gotcha.
before. Okay. Now, guys, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. Okay, does anybody remember Jane Addams in the Whole House from last year in history? It was in Chicago. It was like a place for battered women that Jane Addams set up. Well, I don't know what happened. Students used to learn that. But anyhow, she was there, and Frances Perkins worked there at the Whole House, and then became the New York State Industrial Commissioner, which is kind of a big deal. And so, with some urging of the president's wife, he named her to the cabinet. Okay, and she was qualified. Okay, it wasn't just a sympathy gender thing. Okay, she was qualified. Speaking of the president's wife, what was her name? Eleanor Roosevelt. Okay, she's a very powerful woman. Okay, now before we move on, let's talk a little bit about Franklin Roosevelt. He's a New Yorker. Okay, so was Al Smith. Remember Al Smith? He's a Democrat that ran in 28. Now we get Democrats have another New Yorker on the ballot. Okay, obviously he's going to choose John Garner from Texas to be his running mate to help him get elected. Not that he needs a lot of help running against Hoover at this point. But what do we know about him? He's wealthy, comes from a very wealthy family in upstate New York, up on the Hudson River. What do we all know about him personally? Anything? Okay, he was in a wheelchair.
I don't know.
Do we know why he was in a wheelchair? He got a disease. Not ALS. Polio. Guys, you know how this virus is like, Trump sometimes calls it the invisible, or this kind of like a silent killer, like an invisible killer. Okay. They never really figured out how polio was transmitted, but it would just happen to people. Okay, so my wife's family, her father, my wife's father, Jim Jackson, when he grew up in Houston, and every summer they would send the kids out to Galveston. I don't know if you know where Galveston, Texas. There's a lake down there, and you've got the shoreline, and they had like a lake house just to get them out of the city because they were afraid that their kids would catch polio. Polio was a bad thing. It could cause you to be crippled, okay, lose, your legs. It could also affect your lungs if you got it bad enough. Have you guys ever heard of the iron lung?
Yeah.
Okay. There were people that lived for decades inside of these iron lungs. It was crazy. The only thing they could function with was from the neck up. Okay. Polio was horrible. Now, remember the question, I don't know if you didn't all do the homework, but the question I gave you on eugenics and Woodrow Wilson, where Wilson believed in creating a fitter society, right? Like a kind of social engineering, where you wanted healthy, strong, smart people to reproduce, and you don't want the lesser people to reproduce, to create a stronger society. Okay, this is social engineering, and it's scary stuff. Okay, flies in the face of everything that is Christian. Okay, but we need to talk about it anyways. So why did I jump to that? I just lost my train of thought. I was talking, huh? Polio, yeah. So people that are crippled, if you go back to the 1920s, okay, the teens, the 20s, people that are crippled are looked down upon. You understand? We passed the ADA in 1990, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. That was 1990. Okay. So people are frowned upon, they're looked down upon. So for Franklin Roosevelt, who's bound to a wheelchair. Now, he could stand. He had heavy braces on his legs, and he could stand like at a podium like this, or at the back of a rail car at a railing, or he could stand if he was holding on to somebody. And usually that somebody he was holding on to, let me show you, was his son. Okay? This is the picture there. Okay? His son would travel with him. Okay? He could drive a car, you know, with hand pedals and stuff like that. But he did ask not to be photographed in his wheelchair, especially when he ran for president. Now, he's going to run for governor of New York first, and then the presidency. Okay, what does it say about a man that is willing to put himself out there, knowing that a lot of people look down upon those that are crippled? That's the term they use. Obviously, we don't use that term today, right? I mean, I don't even know if we're allowed to use the word handicapped anymore. It's like disabled or physically challenged. You know what I mean? They change the name all the time, okay? That stuff drives me nuts. I'm sorry, okay? Look, I'll say what you want me to say. If you are bound to a wheelchair, you tell me what you want me to say, and I'll say that. But somebody else doesn't need to tell me what to say. You know what I mean? That just kind of irks me, okay? Because it's always people that aren't the ones that, in that situation, that are telling others what to say. You know what I mean? Like college professors. Shut up already, okay? All right. Sorry. All right. Roosevelt, in life, did not want to be photographed in his wheelchair. You will be very hard pressed to find pictures of Roosevelt in his wheelchair. The media, the press, they obliged with the media to do that today. Let me ask you a question. We've had a recent president, I'm just going to say in the last 4 presidents, that was a smoker. Like smoked cigarettes, a lot. Do you know who that was? Is it Trump? No, Trump doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink.
Yeah.
He doesn't do drugs. Trump has never done drugs or drank. His brother was an alcoholic when he was growing up. And he swore he'd never do it. Never had a sip of alcohol. Maybe he should.
Expensive with alcohol.
Was it Obama?
I
think it
seen a
was
picture of him smoking.
Well, yeah, when he was a youth, you probably saw him smoking a joint.
Well, I could have been.
Okay.
I feel like I've just seen pictures.
And George W. Bush snorted cocaine when he was younger, too. Oh, yeah, that came out. Yes, Obama was a smoker. Okay. Now, do you think if Trump was a smoker, the media would talk about it? Hell yeah, they would. Come on. Okay, so they just like, well, that'll make Obama look bad. We're not going to talk about it. Okay. This man had an incredible relationship with the media. Okay, as we will talk about. Okay. Now, in death, they put him in a wheelchair. In life, he asked not to be photographed. Now, this is the first one they did, had a blanket laying over it, okay? And it showed a little bit of the wheelchair, okay? That was to respect his wishes in life. But to honor those that are in wheelchairs and to show the strength of somebody that was in a wheelchair, they wanted to show the wheelchair. And then people complained, probably college professors, and they redid the damn thing. Okay, now, some personal stuff on Roosevelt. Did he cheat on his wife? Yes. There's a movie out about 6 years ago called Hyde Park on the Hudson. Now, his wife knew. Eleanor knew. Okay, because they had an arrangement. Because really thought that Eleanor had a friend on the side as well. both of their people on the side were women. Did you catch that? So it is likely that Eleanor Roosevelt, in her later years, at least, was probably a lesbian. So, who cares, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's stories, okay? It's not a big deal. Yeah,
Is it like true that they put that panel on like the Resolute desk so that you couldn't see his wheelchair?
that would not surprise me, for sure. Yeah, but I don't know that.
I've heard it somewhere.
Yeah. Now, listen, I'm not in a hurry here, so I just want to talk because we're about out of time. Listen, you're going to hear me. We're going to spend this along. There's a lot of notes on this guy. Okay, he's president for 13 plus years. Okay, Franklin Roosevelt was a great president. Now, when you use a term like that, great president, okay, you can use that in a lot of different ways. My dad, who was born in 1929, so Roosevelt's elected in 32. So the first president my dad knew, all the way till the time he died in 45. My dad hated Roosevelt. Now, most people liked him because he got elected 4 times. Okay? Ideologically, you're going to see a lot of socialism. Okay? Maybe some other things as well. We'll talk about it. So there'll be times where I might be a little bit critical, okay, of Roosevelt. But I don't want you to forget that however you view his presidency, he led us through the Great Depression. He led us to victory in World War II. Okay? He did what he thought was best. We may not always agree with that. Sometimes we may. Okay? But the circumstances that were dealt to this man when he came into office in 1932 and the circumstances when he left in 1945 of this country, I don't think how you can't call him a great president. Okay? So I just want to get that out there. I will be critical of some of the things he does. And it's okay, because that's hindsight looking back. Okay? I have perspective that he didn't have. You know, we have perspective that he didn't have at the time. Okay? So, good. Okay? We'll pick up with Roosevelt tomorrow. You guys have a great day.
Mr. Ebright.